single flame can light a million more.
Popeye, what'd you send me now? Oh, it's an sb220. Now, if I know my buddy Popeye, this is going to be the most mint sb220 you guys have ever seen. Let me get it out of the box. Oh, this thing is mint. It's mint. Trust me, I've seen a few of these. I've got like 15 of them here to work on. The reason that Popeye sent this to me is because of that knob right there. So I'm going to show you guys a couple tricks. I'll be back. Look at this thing. It's going to need some new parasitics, obviously, but this thing is clean. Tab out of the way. So what we're after here is we're going to change this puppy. Really? The next in the mix is Disturbed, or Five Finger Death Punch. Let's turn that down, hold on. It's a cool song and all, but he's having this knob arc on him. We're going to fix that. We're going to do a couple of little upgrades on the inside of this thing. God, the bottom of this thing is virginal. Whew. This is a factory build sb220. You can tell by the solder work. Capacitors are not moisture driven. It's factory braid. Okay. This is Gen 3 because of that plug. Alright, we are going to rip the face off of this amp. Be back. So, I've taken off the 4 screws that hold the face on, and I've taken off the knobs. I want to talk about something. The most unobtainium part of them all. That band switch. Right there. Look. It is super delicate. Like, retarded delicate. So when you undo this bolt, anything that makes contact with that the shaft carries transferred right back to that band switch. So from this point on, you have to guard that band switch with your life. You don't want to jerk this around, you don't want to pull on it, you don't want to push on it, you don't want to do anything. You slide the face off, we're going to bring it up here to the edge of the workbench, we're just going to lay it down. That's all we're going to do. So be careful with that. But we're going to make it so this puppy don't arc no more. And I think you guys are going to like the solution. See, back when I first started out in this thing and I was trying to chase down people that knew things about knew some stuff about knowing some stuff, I used to always hear, man, that load knob on the Heath kit, it arcs over in there. There's just too much capacitance. You should rip the whole tuner apart and change out the number of fins. So for a little while, I thought that that was the appropriate solution. No. I'm going to show you guys something different. All right, let's take the face off. Okay. So first thing you want to do is you want to undo the screw that's down in here in the back portion of the tuner. The reason you want to do that is because you want to minimize how much time you flip-flop this puppy back and forth on the bench. And the other thing I want to talk about is on the factory assembled sb220s, don't know if you can see it down in there. This switch on the front, your grid relative power and your high voltage switch, usually overlaps the side, because they'd build it up with the face on it and then put the exterior RF shielding on it. So you have to be mindful of that. That switch down in there is like the next hardest thing to find. See how that's overlapping down in there? Just right there. If you pull the face straight off, you're going to break that switch. So start with the left hand side. See how I'm pulling it this direction? You rotate the face. It's going to sit just like that. Now the other thing is that you got to be super mindful of this wire. It's not stranded. This is hardcore wire. So if you tilt this face more than 2 or 3 times, you're going to end up redoing these solder joints. Just food for thought. All right, let me get this thing resituated on the bench so we can work on it. Okay, so me being me, I just take the face off. Look, I can build this amp in my sleep. I've literally worked on probably 150 of these, at least, in the last 4 or 5 years. So I can build this amp in my sleep. I know where every one of the band switch wires, I can draw you a diagram at any time. I know where everything goes. So to me, it's easier just to pull the whole face off instead of having to worry about breaking off any of these unobtainium tabs or chewing up any of the fittings or breaking up any of the contacts. Now, the other common problem with these is if they're in any kind of a moisture environment, they corrode. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to re-index this before it leaves. We're going to re-index this switch so it's perfectly straight and not overlapped. Re-index that up straight. We're going to clean that all up, make it look like new. And then what we'll do is we'll wash these so they're white. And that comes from about 1 million years, and somebody smoked around this at one point or another. Now, I'm not saying this amp has been smoked around because it's pretty pristine, but that's the only thing that causes these to orange out. And we clean them with a specific kind of window cleaner, and it takes a yellow tinge right out of them. We'll make these look like new by the time they leave here. Because I know my buddy Popeye, he's kind of particular. Now look, if this was built in a factory, every single one of these wires is going to have a little hook to it, where they put the wire through the eyelet and then hooked it around and then soldered it in place. So instead of having to worry about these wires breaking as I'm shooting a video, because we're going to flip this thing back and forth about 5 or 6 times, I just took the face off. The other thing you always want to do as soon as you remove the face and you set the faceplate up is you want to put the nut and the retaining washer for the faceplate on the band switch back in place. And what that does is it supports this band switch. When this nut is loose, you see how that can move around? Well, what's flexing on this is the little tiny tabs down here on the wafer, and then the one on the back. And the thing I've had this show up 3 or 4 times now where one shows up and they've taken the thing apart for whatever reason. They've had to change the band switch in the front or the one in the back. They never take note of which way the band switch is indexed, so then when they go to put the shaft back together at the double-headed jam nut here, there's a jam nut that's got 2 nuts on it, and you can index it 180 degrees out. Yeah, they go to put it back together. They don't take notes of where the wiper bars are on the band switch, but no, just put this nut back on, and once you do that, the band switch is supported. Because remember, this front one, you can still buy this back one for Harbach, and you can get capacitor bank from Harbach, and you can get an aftermarket high volt board from Harbach, but you cannot find this front band switch. And now I know I'm going to leave the comments open on this video. I know there's going to be some jackwad out there that's going to go out there, oh, look at this link I found for you. Look, if you can find me a company that's got direct drop-in replacement band switches for the sb220 on the inner boob and provide me a link that is viable to a company that is working, I'll give you $50. So let the search begin. My 3,000 YouTube viewers. Yeah, this sucker's bone stock. It's a Gen 3 though. It's a late model. Alright, so we're going to take out this air variable, we're going to put something else in its place. So I'm going to start breaking this apart, and as we go, I'm going to start showing you what I'm doing. First thing first is I'm going to pull this front screw out. Then we're going to disconnect this nut in the back, and we're going to take the tuner out. I'm going to set it on the bench. We're going to measure it so I can show it to you. Not that I already don't know what it is already, but I'm going to show you the values and what we're going to replace this with. Okay, I'll be back. Okay. So to remove this tuner, if it's a stock tuner, you're going to need a 5/16 deep well socket. You sneak it back down and through, and you grab onto this nut right here. Now you only have to loosen it. You don't have to take it all the way off, because it's a little U eyelet that they put in here. Alright. So now the tuner that's in here that's stock is a 25 through 900 puff tuner. And what we're going to replace it with is a Jennings 75 through 1000 puff 7 kVA tuner. These little guys have become unobtainium. I'm telling you, man, you get on eBay and you start doing a search for these. Every once in a while you catch somebody that doesn't know what they have, and they'll have it listed for maybe 80 or 90 bucks. But I've seen these go for in the area of $300 to $400. Not all the time, mind you, but the ones that are in really good shape like this that come with the hardware plates that go on the back that make it so you can actually do something with it, very expensive. Now, they've got 3 kV, 5 kV, 7 kV, and then they jump up to 10 kV in the vacuum tuner styles. At least these Jennings. Now the Jennings are tough. You got to be careful, because the Russian ones look a lot alike. Not saying there's anything wrong with the Russian components, because there's not. These tuners were all built to a standard. See, this one's 5 kV. Because remember, in Cyrillic, the B is actually D. And this is 4 through 1,000 puff. Or 4 through 100, pardon me. Microfarad. Okay. So now what we got to do is we've got to build ourselves a little bracket that's going to hold this in place. And hold it right about there. Because that mounting hardware's got to go on the back. But look at our shaft length. Remember, they didn't make these custom for each installation. They made them so that you can pull these shafts out and you can change the collar depth. And let me rip this one apart real quick. I'll show you what I mean. So you've got your actual tuner, which is about the size of a tennis ball, small tennis ball, this tuner. Now you got your collet head, then you got your bearing raceway, then you got your actual ball bearings that sit in there, just like so. Then you're going to have another washer that sits in there just like so. Then you're going to have your capacitance shaft, which threads into the tuner, that allows you to pull the bellows back and forth inside the tuner. And then you're going to have your lock head that sits against the bearing waist ray, so when you thread your shaft in and out of the tuner, you can adjust your shaft length. And of course, the collet will sit all the way down onto the threads with no problem at all. So I had it setting here for height and length for in here. But you can adjust that about an inch or so, and if you need to, you can just trim off this end of the shaft, take it apart, trim the shaft off, and then adjust on the collet seat. Okay, I'm going to put that back together, and we're going to fab ourselves a bracket up real quick. Okay, we'll be back. Did you know there's 2 7/8 inches from center to center, the dowels on the front of that thing? Yeah. It's an inch and, shit, what was that measurement? Inch and 7/16 high to the center from the base plate. You'd never know until you look down inside. This is a 3 kVA tuner, okay? 3 kilovolt. So 3,000 volts for this tuner. And because of the spacing in between the tuner fins and a little bit of harmonics, you get that arcing. Well, this is almost double the kVA rating. So that means it can handle significantly much more voltage. And since it's in a vacuum environment, it means less arcing. The downside is this works on 90 degrees of travel. And what do I mean by 90 degrees of travel? Pardon me, 180 degrees of travel. That's fully interlaced at 900 puff. That's 25 or 9. This is what I'm talking about. There's our 800 and some puff. Do 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 and do do ah do da 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 ya da 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 ya da da da. Oh, there we go. There's our 25 puff. As you can see, the little bellows are uninterleaved. This guy, because there's no turn counter on this guy is going to run it real hard over here in a 15 meter position, if you know what I'm saying. Oh man, this is such an old generation or new generation that doesn't even have the 10 on it. This is a 4-position band switch. You see, it's got an aux. It's got an aux. When this gets indexed, this will start out at 80, and then this will index over to the non-labeled position of 10 meters. Anyhow, he's going to be a mono bender, and I think that this is where this knowledge is going to get primarily put. Unless you guys want to go and spend the money and have a turn counter, like strip one out of an old Henry RF generator, one of them piles of crap or something, and cut a little window in the front so you can have a turn counter. That's the only way this modification would work for you guys, the multi-bender guys. But for the 11 meter dudes that like to overdrive the shit out of everything and got to tune it for every single little last watt, I wanted to shoot a video on how to do this pretty much step by step, so that maybe you don't have to ship your amp all the way across the country up to me to have me do it. Because remember, at the end of the day, this is about an $1,200 box, and we just put $500 worth of parts in it. Between the labor, parts, time. Yeah, labor, part, and time. Come on, think about it. You just spent over half the quantity of the box to make it so it doesn't arc when you overdrive the box. Just saying. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and button this up and get the faceplate all wired back up. I'm gonna flip it over. Gonna get some other hardware replaced on the bottom. And hey, Papa, I'm gonna send you back your tuner, bro. And when we come back, I'm gonna have some tubes in it, and we're gonna have it running. I'm gonna have to change the power plug, though. I don't have a 30 amp twist lock 220 plug, but I got others. So anyhow, on that note, we'll be back.
Dakota. I got your back. He wasn't.
I've been chatting off and on with these boys down there in Oklahoma as I'm putting this sb220 back together. Slow but sure. Slow but sure. Said I'd give you a shout out, JC. Bump bump. Oh, Popeye. She's all done, buddy. I went ahead and I figured out that the relative voltmeter and the grid meter, or your high voltmeter, was not working. So I went ahead and I repaired that. He burned up one of the resistors on the inside, so I had to make one because I didn't have another 5 megger, but that's all aside. Now let's take a quick look at how this thing's indexed. So you got your 15 meter and then your 10 meter, okay, otherwise 11 meter band. And the index on the variable capacitor here, we're going to have it set up so it's straight up and down, okay? And then over here, we've got this index so it's pointing at 10. Let's give this thing a quick little test drive. I'll explain to you what we got going on. Hello. 1900, no problem. Okay. So, we did the capacitor change. Trust me, that's the one that always arcs. And then I rebuilt your parasitics. Now, everybody's going to go, no, wait a minute. Why are there capacitors across the parasitics? Look, the old resistors that we used to get that were brown had a little bit of capacitance to them, which helped as a clamping effect in the parasitics in the operation of themselves. Now, if you go and you look on the inside of like an Ameritron, or even some of the later Drakes, you'll see that when they came up with these new non-conductive carbon-carbon resistors they use today, they dropped that little bit of capacitance that was in the material. I mean, it's just a small amount. But believe it or not, they still had some circulating mode current that was taking place. Now, Popeye, the placement of these parasitics is really important. See how I've got them laid out now? It's exactly how you want to lay them out when you put the tubes back in when you get this amp back. If you don't do that, these tubes can oscillate off each other just a little bit. That's the downside to these horseshoe parasitics. They work better than the wrapped ones. But you got to add 100 puff worth of capacitance across the leads to help clamp, to cut off any little bit of oscillating mode current on the top of the tube. So, thank you, Mr. Shockwave, for teaching me that, by the way. I learned that here about 6 months ago. It's all the parasitics that you see come out of here that I'm going to produce with these new common carbon-carbon resistors. They'll have that little 100 farad or 100 puff worth of capacitance. Now on the bottom side, went ahead and we grounded your grids on the tubes. I cleaned your relay connection and got you all set up. Now, everybody's going to ask me, BBI, why did you not just get the replacement capacitor from RF Parts? Well, that replacement capacitor works to a fault. Works great on the lower bands, but up on the upper band of 10 meters and 11 meters, the plates are too close together on that cap. And if there's any kind of parasitic at all that's left in the RF, it'll arc right over. So I found that this is a much better solution. It's pretty obvious. I think most people that are going to see this video, they're going to be, oh, why didn't I think of that? It's just an obvious step forward. Okay. So let's take a quick look at what we got going on here. That's a 1,000 watt slug in PEP, 1,000 watt slug in average, 5 watt slug going in reverse, back from the bird 10,000 watt dummy load. Of course, that 1,000 watt slug is in 2x, so it's reading as a 2,000 watt slug. And we're going to use our Connex as our driver. So first let me show some drive. We're going to put about 120 watts in. Now we all know that if you got a fairly decent set of seasoned tubes, you're going to put about 100 watts in, get 1,000 watts out peak power, right? Well, my tubes are new. These are the same tubes that I test all these sb220s with. So we know if I put 200 watts in, we're going to get like 2,300 out. We're not going to go to that extreme today. We're just going to drive it with the Connex. We're going to hit it with about 125 watts of drive, and we'll see about 1,800 watts come out of the thing. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so we're going to step on our pedal, and our plate ampere meter is going to come up. And we're with inspect. We got our 7 volts or 5 volt flap on the bottom. Throw ourselves a little bit of a dead key here. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. See about 500 bird. Hello, audio. 1700 peak. Popeye, she's right. She's tight. She's set up. All your meters work. I got the relative power meter working for you. The grid meter's working again. The sensitivity knob is set up right. I re-indexed this on the insides. Nope. Point down. I keep forgetting to look up at the screen on the camera. I re-indexed this so you can take the faceplate off easier now. And redid all your solder work on all your jumpers on the inside. So that's it. It's all set to go. Hello. Hello. Hello, BBI. Hello, BBI. So what I'm doing here is Popeye told me that he could only get about 10-15 seconds worth of key down time before the thing would start arcing on him on the inside. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Hello, BBI. Hello, BBI. Hello. Tubes haven't even started to warm up yet. Hello, BBI. Hello, BBI. Hello, BBI. Hello, BBI. Hello, BBI. Hello. Let's turn our dead key up a little bit there, Popeye. Nice 200 watt carrier. Hello, audio. There, the tubes are finally starting to warm up a little bit. Hello. 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 You know what? Second thought, I'm going to hit this with a little 2-pill. Let me get that set up. It didn't take too long to set up. 2-pill 2879, jumped radios. We're on the RCI 2950 now. And we're on the 1000 watt slug setting. So 1X. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. It's about 220 watts of drive. That's on high, 220 watts of drive. Let's set that down so I don't cross over the cabinet. We're going to go down to the 5X setting. So remember how this is going to read. That we're reading that middle scale. 10s 1,000, 20s 2. All right. Step on the pedal. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Hello, BBI, BBI, BBI. 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Hello, BBI. Hello, BBI. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Popeye, we got more than 30 seconds key down time now, bud. That's it, the thing's adjusted properly. It runs just fine. And the tubes are cool enough. Perfection. Bud, I appreciate you sending this up to me, man. I know it took me forever to get around to doing it. The biggest drawback was trying to get my hands on the tuners. Them little tiny Jennings tuners are like unobtainium. Easily unobtainium. But man, I'm going to pull my tubes out once they cool off. I'm going to slap the armor back on this thing. I'm going to put it back in the giant wood crate. I'm going to drag it over after I change out the power plug. Drag it over to your UPS and send it back to you. Pop, I appreciate you, man. Gentlemen, I hope y'all learned something from this video. All you guys out there in CB land and ham land. That's how you get your load tune or your load capacitor to quit arcing. Just replace it with something that can arc. Give me a call. Let me know if I can help you out. My name is BBI. Without the shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Come check us out, www.bbiamps.com. I don't get to be here without you guys. I appreciate your all support. I appreciate the giant pile of projects I got over here. And I truly appreciate everybody's patience. I got everybody chomping at the bit right now. Where's my box? Where's this? Where's that? When are you going to be done with that? I got 6 amps going right now. And this one I was on an absolute deadline of this weekend. So I got her finished. I got to go hop into a straight 6 and a 2-pill and a 12-pill 2510 box. So that's where we're at. See you, gentlemen. Bye.